1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. Pride Month is celebrated with love and inclusion. It's about bringing positive changes for the future. However, it is also a time to reflect on struggles. Those of us who do not identify as part of the LGBTQI community can take a minute to recognize what those struggles have been.
I know, this is pretty pathetic.
No, we're hanging out together. Besties.
Right. Yay.
Yay. So, great intro, by the way. I loved that. That was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, I really thought so. I thought that was wonderful.
Thanks.
I hope our listeners do too.
If you don't, send your names and addresses to another situation. Attention, Jessica.
Should we, one, I'm going to apologize. I have a cough. So if you hear me coughing,
Always.
it's because I couldn't cut it out.
Always.
And I'm chronically sick, this one. And then I also need to apologize for a second thing. I'm trying to back up away from the microphone because I have heard how loud my laugh is when I am close to the microphone. And dear Lord, I am so sorry, everybody. Like people must like jump in their car if they hear it. Like it made me jump one time. I was like, oh my goodness, that was loud. So, I'm backing up a little.
It's such a great laugh. It's better than my emphysema laugh.
Oh, thank you. It was very loud and it shocked me one time. So I was like, you need to at least move your head back when you know a laugh is coming so you don't scare anyone.
Well, that's thoughtful of you.
Sure. That's me.
I'm known as Thoughtful Jess.
That's my nickname.
I don't know why this is making me laugh so hard.
I'm not even drinking.
Probably because I've been alone all day cleaning.
And I'm your first human interaction.
Yay.
Oh, no.
You really are.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. This is sad. That's true. That's truth. Okay.
Not sad. I would love to go a day without talking to people. Like one day without talking to anybody.
Well, I think the problem with that is the next day when you do talk to people, it's like you forgot how to speak.
Oh my gosh.
It makes sense.
When the pandemic was coming to a close and you had to go out in public again
and talk.
So awkward to everybody.
You know, it was great is you could just blame it on your mask. Like I'm just muffled. You can't hear what I'm saying properly.
Oh, that was such an awkward feeling. Okay. Yeah. So you're saying we have 4 stories.
We have 4 stories. We should probably get going.
Maybe we should go in chronological order.
Well, I think kind of, but I want to save one of mine specifically for the end. So I definitely want to have one of mine go at the end. Actually, maybe both of mine should be the last 2 since your 2 are your two kind of set the groundwork for things.
Okay. That works. I guess then I'll go first and you can go second.
Okay. Out of birth order.
But order of importance.
I hate you.
This is a little off the topic too. So I was talking to my daughter. Sometimes she wants to, like, instead of reading a book, we'll make up stories and tell each other stories. So I was telling her, did mom ever tell you the story about the monkey and the turtle?
She changed it all the time. Yes.
Oh, because there's like 3 different versions of it. And one
is
of
it
them
a real story?
It's a Filipino fable.
No,
I was telling it last night and I was like, that just does not sound right.
Oh, wait. Don't tell it. Don't tell it. You know what? Let's have, since we're kind of searching for episodes for July.
Okay.
Why don't we do a fable episode?
Okay. I won't tell it, but
you guys,
I Googled
breaking news right here. We just
heard it first. You heard it first. You were there. This is what our brainstorming sessions look like.
We don't have those.
No, we don't at all. Again, like I said last episode, it's Ingrid telling me what I have to do and I do it.
Birth order.
Birth order. Okay. Anyways,
what's the name of this one?
I didn't know it was an actual, it's an Ilocanos fable too from.
Don't give us any more history.
Well, that's it. I just thought it was really cool. I didn't know it was, I thought mom was just making stuff up.
I did too, because it was always messed up.
Yeah. So there's 2 of them. The other one she always used to tell us is also a Filipino fable. Actually, it's in a lot of cultures. Anyways, So that has nothing to do with anything. I don't know why that crossed my mind, but I wanted to share that. And so that's it. So it's not necessarily heavy topics today, but I will be covering the Stonewall riots. And I got my information from Wikipedia and history.com. As a precursor to the story, I want to add that solicitation of same-sex relations was illegal in New York City, and that also the DSM, which is the Diagnostic, party foul statistical manual. I think whatever.
You should know that.
I know. If any of my friends don't listen, it's cool. They can't call me out. Anyways, it's what you use to diagnose mental health disorders. It came out and it said that being gay was an actual mental health disorder. So these are some of the beliefs going on back then. And also in the earlier 60s, it was a crime to serve alcohol to LGBT individuals. And the New York State Liquor Authority would penalize and shut down any place known to serve alcohol because homosexuals gathering together was deemed to be, quote unquote, disorderly. Can you believe that? Like just people drinking.
That's crazy.
Not even their behaviors or their actions, just their sexual orientation and the fact of mixing alcohol with it. Ridiculous. Anyways.
Well, I mean, alcohol with a lot of things can
with anybody, but then they should shut down all bars.
Okay. Bring back prohibition is what you're saying.
God, dear God, no. In 1966, after a lot of activism, LGBTQ individuals would be served alcohol, but any PDA was still illegal. And police would continually raid known gay bars, also because they were owned by the mafia. So that's just a little precursor to this. And now I get into the guts of it. So the Stonewall Inn was one of the gay clubs owned by the mafia, specifically the Genovese family. The mafia used to bribe the police to leave the club alone, and in turn, they would also get notified prior to any raids. The raids would consist of all the alcohol getting hidden, and the patrons of the inn would have to line up and provide their IDs to the police. The inn would give a heads up to the patrons that a raid was going to happen by turning the white overhead lights on to give the patrons who dressed in drag time to hide and to alert everyone to stop with the PDA before the police actually came into the establishment. Some things about the Stonewall, because the mafia ran it and they knew that they were running it as a gay club, they tried to cut corners. So it did not have a fire exit. It did not have running water to wash the glasses. So the glasses would get dunked into like a sink or like a tub kind of thing behind the bar, and they would be reused.
Gross.
I know. The toilets would overflow and they were not clean. And also all the drinks were watered down. The Genovese family would also blackmail the richer patrons in order to keep their sexuality a secret. So that's another way that they would get money. However, the poll on this was it was cheap to enter and it welcomed drag queens because not that many bars back in the day did. There was also numerous runaways and homeless gay youths that would frequent the bar. And another thing is that the inn allowed dancing, which was another perk because a lot of the bars didn't. So they got to dance and they allowed drag queens, which was, I mean, it was just open to everybody, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's what we should be doing this Friday night is dancing with drag queens.
That is. But instead we're podcasting together. Talking about dancing.
I might go dance after this by myself.
That's sad. No, that's happy. That could be fun. In your house or like at a, I'm not going to ask.
I'm not going anywhere.
You never know.
Look at me.
Look at this face. Okay. So that is about the club. So the Stonewall riots, it's also called the Stonewall Uprising. It began on June 28th, 1969 in Greenwich Village, New York City. A few days prior, there was a tip off that the police were going to raid the bar. So they weren't really expecting another one coming because it happened maybe once a week, I think, actually. However, on the 28th, no, they were not tipped off at all. Since there wasn't advance notice, the police found alcohol. They arrested 13 people for not wearing gender appropriate clothing. And they were like physical with actual patrons. And one of the things I wanted to mention is, that women were required to wear 3 articles of feminine clothing in order to not be arrested for quote unquote cross-dressing. It was called the 3-article rule or the 3-piece law. And right. And I was like, what 3 articles, like pantyhose, like underwear and bra? Like what 3 articles of clothing do you have to wear? But like you could get arrested if you were just wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, like my favorite outfit to go to. Because where's the feminine piece?
So they don't have mom's rule of as long as you're wearing a nice shirt, you don't have to wear pants.
No.
Sorry,
but then
Mom.
I actually looked it up and there wasn't any actual legislation on the books, like written down, but the 3-article law was deemed as an informal rule of thumb used by the police because there's a lot of it in documentation for arrest records, but there's nothing in the actual like legal laws of what you can arrest someone for. And so they also think that it was a term used by the LGBTQ community as a way to easily warn each other that the police are coming. I thought that was crazy. Okay, back to the riot. So back on June 28th, the patrons of the bar, they were getting tired of the raids and they decided to rebel by not showing their IDs and getting the crowds outside involved because as the police came and people started being loud, crowds started to gather around outside the inn. One moment that helped was the police. It didn't help this lady. Hopefully you'll see what I mean. That helped was police hit and were arresting a female whose identity is unknown, but there is a woman that says it was her who called out to the crowd for help as she was getting arrested. She was like, "Are you just going to stand there? Or are you actually going to do something for me?" So the crowd, who was mostly full, and I'm using the term homosexuals because that's the way it was written in the article. So I'm just going to stick with that. The crowd, mostly full of homosexuals, began to throw pennies, bottles, and some stones at the police. The police ended up taking a few prisoners, people that they were arresting, and barricading themselves back in the Stonewall Inn. So they essentially almost took hostages back with them and were barricaded in the inn, right? It blows my mind. So the people rioting, they tried to start the inn on fire to get the police out and get the prisoners that were taken in, the hostages, I think they should be called. Fire departments and a riot squad came. They put out the fire and got the policemen and the prisoners out of the inn. Participants of the riots met up later in the nearby Christopher Park to regroup and come up with additional ideas and plans. And so the protests continued for 5 more days in this area. This incident led to the creation of numerous gay right organizations, such as the Gay Liberation Front, the Human Rights Campaign, GLAAD, which used to be called Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, but I think they just go by GLAAD now to be more inclusive. And PFLAG, or I don't know, it's formerly Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, which again, they don't go by that longer title. On the 1-year anniversary of the riot, thousands of people marched into the street of Manhattan from the Stonewall Inn to Central Park. It was called the Christopher Street Liberation Day and is considered America's first gay pride parade. The official chant of the parade was, "Say it loud, gay is proud." In 2006, President Obama declared the site of the riots, Stonewall Inn and Christopher Park and the surrounding areas, a national monument. So there are a lot of, if there's so much information out there, it would have taken a whole entire podcast had I gone through like each day and what happened. My Favorite Murder actually covers this in episode 225. It's Jenga, and Karen does a really good job of including like the names and the people involved. But that's just kind of an overview of what the Stonewall riots were. And so that's kind of how Pride Month ended up being in June, was because of these riots and these people saying, no, we've had enough. And like I read one article that said you could just feel something was different in the air that night. Like you could just feel the tension was different, and that people were like, heck no, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Like I should be able to live my life the way I want to live my life. Like it was some of the personal experiences, like pretty cool. So that was that one. How amazing.
Next one is heavy.
This next one, I kept it super short as well because it is super heavy. And I got it from Wikipedia and memories is actually how do. So this is the story of Matthew Shepard. So he was born December 1st, 1977. And he grew up in Casper, Wyoming. He was the oldest of 2 boys. And his sexual orientation, he was a gay man. He lived his life, and actually he went on it was some kind of school trip to Morocco. This is so sad. I didn't know about him. He went on a school trip to Morocco, and he was sexually assaulted. And when he got back, like he struggled with the trauma of the sexual assault and like started to self-medicate and had suicidal ideation and depression from this incident. So
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So that part, obviously, I did not get off of memory. Anyways, so he ended up going to the University of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming. And October 6th, 1998, he was, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My eyes are about to water. He was beaten, tied to a fence post.
Hold on a second. 1998?
1998.
For some reason, I thought this was not that late.
No.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was still I'm old. I thought I was still in high school during this.
I barely. Oh my gosh. I wasn't even in high school then.
No. I'm also old. Come on, man. Okay.
He was, okay. So on October 6th, 1998, he was beaten, tied to a fence post, and left for dead. I'm so sorry. That came out weird. So it was a fence post in a field in a very rural area outside of Laramie. Cyclist is a person who found Matthew still tied to the fence 18 hours later after 2 men, not men, they're all boys. They were all super young, did this to him. Matthew died from injuries sustained on October 12th. One of the men responsible for his death was found guilty of felony murder by a jury, and the other pled guilty to murder and kidnapping charges. And so a lot of the stuff that they talked about in the trial, one of, I'm not even going to say their names because it's dirt, but one of the men, their lawyer wanted to say that he reacted in almost like a frenzy because Matthew was hitting on him. They call it
almost like it was a temporary psychosis thing. I kind of remember this.
Yes.
That it was an excusable. He didn't come out quite say it was excusable, but he was implying that this was an excusable response for a straight man to get hit on by a gay man. Of course, this is the reaction.
Exactly. It's totally okay to pistol whip someone and tie them to a fence post, barbed wire fence. And so the judge actually did not allow that defense. So good on that judge. And then there was some controversy. Same thing with the jury. The other dude he pled, so he didn't have to go to jury or go to trial. But the other guy's girlfriend, when they first they asked their girlfriends to be their alibi for them. And so at first, one of the guy that went to jury, his girlfriend's like, I think they did it because he had a problem with gay men. Like that's why he reacted that way. And then later she recanted it saying, I only said that because I thought it would help him in his case. So I think once she realized that he was going to get charged with a hate crime, that she tried to take it all back. And she actually ended up getting charged for, I can't remember. I think it was just a misdemeanor of, not telling the truth, whatever that's called.
Lying,
misleading. There's a word for it. I can't think of it right now, but that's okay. So Matthew's mom, her name is Judy. God bless her. Her and her husband. Oh, I didn't write down the husband's name. Oops. Sorry, Mr. Shepard. Helped found the Matthew Shepard Foundation in December of 1998. So it was 2 months after his murder happened. Matthew's death also helped pass the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. So what this act is, it was signed into law on October 28th, 2009. So 11 years after Matthew's murder. The act expands hate crime law to include crimes motivated by a victim's actual or perceived gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. And the last thing that I'm going to include on that, and James Byrd Jr., I'm not sure if people know who he is. He was a Black man who was murdered by 3 white men in Jasper, Texas on June 7th, also in 1998. He was dragged for 3 miles behind a truck on an asphalt road. He was alive through most of it, but died when his body hit the edge of a culvert. Trigger warning, this is a little graphic, severing his right arm and head. The 3 men continued driving for 1.5 miles before leaving his torso in front of a Black church. So it was those 2 men that helped create the Hate Crimes Prevention Act and add to that. And I do want to add to this. We do know it's Juneteenth, the day before we release this, but because we did so much for Black History Month, a lot of material. So we do want to recognize Juneteenth.
I was going to say that at the end.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, we will say it again at the end.
Yeah. So we see it, we respect you, we acknowledge it, and we celebrate with you and continue to work towards a better US. So those are the
2 days before we release this.
Oh, true. Sorry. I have no idea what the dates are. Okay. So those are my 2 situations.
Okay. So I am going a little bit out of chronological order with my last 2. Okay. So this is a story about Jason Fox. And this happened in the year of 2020. And the reason I wanted to do this one is because Jessica covered the historical Stonewall Uprising. And then, of course, Matthew Shepard was, for some reason, I thought it was in the 80s, but that was just 1998. But I wanted to have a situation that shows that these kind of crimes and these kind of thoughts and feelings and whatever are still going on. So the information from this I got from KHQ News, and I don't know if it's called KREM or if it's KREM or whatever, but both news stations. I don't know.
I think it's usually like KREM, isn't it?
I know, but it was like, it's all lowercase. Like KHQ is all uppercase. So it's K, and plus you can't. This is from and KREM.
Fabulous.
Okay. So both of those websites I got them from mentioned their information was obtained directly from court documents. And I'm leaving, they did list an address in this story, which I'm going to leave out. And initially I said I was going to leave out the last names of the offenders. But I don't know why everybody else has put their last names out and they're on trial. So I'll mention their full name at the beginning, and then for the rest of the story, I'm just going to use their first name because that's what I did.
So they're alleged right now because they're not convicted.
Well, two of them are, and have already been sentenced. Well,
okay.
Yes, two of them have been sentenced. Two of them are still awaiting trial.
Jeez, how many? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the story, so I'm totally all ears.
Okay. So the last day he was seen on September 14th, 2020, 19-year-old Jason Fox sent a Facebook message to a family member. In that message, he said he was going to a specific address, and they do list this address. This is what I'm leaving out, in Newport, Washington. He wanted this individual to know where he was, quote, just in case. On September 16th of 2020, he was reported missing. The next day, police contacted 4 residents of that aforementioned, not mentioned, the address. These individuals were identified as Riley Hillstead, Matthew Freeman, something. He has a hyphenated name, and I only wrote down something Freeman, Claude Merritt, and I'll just say Amanda's first name. She's not on trial. Each one of them gave a different story on when they last saw Jason. Amanda told police she woke up to the sound of a skid steer, which, do you know what a skid steer is?
I was just about to ask you what that was.
Okay, I did not know, so I had to Google it. So it's a construction vehicle that's used for digging. So I think it's like a digger.
Like an excavator?
Yes. It's a digger. It's a sand shovel. What? Okay.
Oh, Washingtonians.
Yeah, I know. So she had heard this on the night Jason disappeared. She said she had witnessed Riley operating it for 20 to 30 minutes. She also mentioned that later that night, Riley and Matthew left for Montana. On September 20th.
They had a digger in their yard?
I think so there's a garage that's also referred to as a shop. So they must have been into some kind of construction or some kind of something.
Okay. Must have been like a more rural kind of area, I guess, maybe.
It is. It's a very rural area. Okay. On September 20th, police spoke with an individual named Kevin Belding, who said he had not seen Jason in 2 to 3 weeks. Kevin believed that Jason may have been in Montana. On September 22nd, Jason's vehicle was found just south of Libby, Montana. A man named Sean sent a Facebook message to Riley on September 24th stating, quote, "You need to go explain what happened and be a better man, dude. You can't just hide what you did to a 19-year-old kid," end quote.
Sent that to his friend?
So Sean sent this. I'm not saying Sean's last name because he's
right.
Not, but he sent it to Riley Hillstead.
Okay.
And so Riley is one of the individuals that lives in that house. Okay. Jason's body was discovered on October 4th, buried 3 to 4 feet underground with his hands bound behind his back. There was evidence that he had been beaten, and his body was on the property that he had messaged to that relative on September 14th.
Gosh. In Washington?
In Washington, Newport, Washington. On November 7th, the individuals were brought in for questioning, and Claude told officers that he witnessed Riley and Matthew beating up Jason just before they tied his hands behind his back. Claude said he tried to stop them, but Kevin held a gun on him. Claude then said he and Kevin followed Jason off the property and went separate directions when they got to the highway. This was the last time Claude states that he saw Jason alive. However, I found another version, so I'm not sure if Claude gave two different stories or if the information is skewed or whatever. So another version of what Claude had told officers, he said that Riley took Jason outside, and when Riley came back inside, he said Jason was dead. Matthew, who Claude said was beating up Jason, contradicted all of that and said that Riley and Claude were the ones who beat up Jason, while he and Kevin sat in a chair and watched. He then said Claude walked Jason out of the garage with Jason's hands bound behind him, and the two of them drove off in an SUV with Jason in the back. Then Riley admitted, so Riley has been in both stories. Riley is one of the men who beat up Jason. So Riley admitted to police that he both operated the skid steer, like Amanda had mentioned, and drove Jason's car along with Matthew to Montana, but he denied doing anything with the body. Riley's phone had pinged in Libby, Montana on September 15th. So it's proven that he was there. He then gave a third version of the story. Riley said that Claude had hit Jason twice and he left because, quote, it wasn't my fight, end quote. And he said that all of the others remained in the shop where the two men were fighting. And just one interesting thing, apparently investigators said that Riley showed up to his interview wearing a ballistic vest and carrying pepper spray, handcuffs, knives, an AR-15, and a handgun.
What in the world?
I mean,
to an interview with the police department?
The police department.
So,
right. So again, I'm getting these things from these news outlets that say they've gotten the information from, documents. There also, though, there have been a lot of attention given to the story on media. So some things have definitely been exaggerated. I think that one person said there was a story where he was dismembered, and that's not the truth. So most of this, I'm fairly certain is true, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's reported that that's what investigators had said, but I guess it's hard for me to believe that somebody would actually do that. So following these interviews, Riley, Matthew, Claude, and Kevin were all arrested for multiple charges. Riley has been described as the ringleader and has 9 counts against him. 2 of those charges include first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping. His bail was set for $1 million. Kevin and Claude were charged with first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, and making false or misleading statements. Matthew was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, second-degree taking a vehicle without permission, tampering with physical evidence, and false or misleading statements. Each of them had bail set at $750,000. So I take this back. I forgot. Following the initial hearing, Sean was arrested. So he was arrested for providing false or misleading statements. And he's the guy who had sent that Facebook message.
To Riley, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess the reason this is kind of making its rounds to Facebook currently is earlier this year, 2022. Claude had his hearing and he was found guilty of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, tampering with physical evidence, and failing to notify the coroner. He was found not guilty, however, of unlawful disposal of human remains. His sentence could have been life in prison. However, he was given 28 years, which includes time served. Kevin pled guilty to rendering criminal assistance, which is a felony with a maximum sentence of 1 year, and failure to notify a coroner, which is a 90-day sentence. At this time, he had already been jailed for 15 months while he was waiting his trial. So he was released, given time served. And as far as I can tell, the others are still awaiting their trials. So why am I including this in the LGBTQ situations? So Jason's mom, Pepper Fox, is convinced her son was murdered because he was gay. The police are still investigating the motive. Pepper wanted her story heard, so she took to media, both television and social. She pled to gain the attention of Ellen DeGeneres and Lady Gaga. She did get the attention of Josh Helfgott. And Josh is an LGBTQ plus advocate, and he has more than 3.3 million TikTok followers. He responded with, "I'm not Gaga, but you want your son's story to go viral, and I think I can help." And that TikTok post has gotten more than 1 million likes. And there's a hashtag. So it's hashtag justice for Jason Fox, has almost 13 million views overall. Police have been able to access text records and social media messages to determine that there was already strife between Jason and the rest of the men. Pepper, however, has since gained access to her son's iCloud account. And that account contains information which she believes proves that this was a hate crime. And there now has been a warrant to obtain those records, which she's pleased about. That's what she wanted.
Right. Did it say why he went there in the first place? Does anyone know?
It said that Claude was kind of just trying to get him to hang out. And Jason was like, I definitely want to hang, but he was really reluctant because he had previous issues with Riley. And in fact, I think he filed something with Riley because Riley had broken his windshield of his car with a crowbar. And I think at one point he held a gun to him.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So he kept asking, he's like, Riley's not going to be there, right? Riley's not going to be there. And I think Claude was reassuring him that Riley was not going to be there. I'm not sure.
Totally setting him up.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if this was like a complete premeditated thing and this was the ultimate plan, or if something happened. I don't know. I mean, Claude.
Isn't first degree murder premeditation?
Yeah, I think you're right. So they must believe that this was premeditated.
Yeah.
In all my years of legal studies, I believe you're correct, counselor.
Gosh, that poor guy. He knew, he had a gut feeling.
I know, you don't go. Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not his fault.
No, not at all.
So with the growing publicity and some admittedly exaggerated, Pepper said this: "The attention on social media has reminded people that it's still difficult to grow up gay, especially in a rural town." She said because of that attention, she was able to help lead a pride parade in Newport in honor of her son.
Oh.
It hit a heartstring with this is a quote, "It hit a heartstring with a lot of people. There's a lot of gay men who either grew up in rural areas or their parents rejected them after they came out as gay. He could have been them."
Living in Washington then. I don't know how I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, you were.
I was.
And it's interesting that, I mean, everything was just kind of discovered and figured out right away. He was reported missing just 2 days after he was murdered. And the police went straight to that house.
Unnecessary tragedies. It's something too many.
That leads me to our concluding story, which is definitely unnecessary and definitely hits home with a lot of people. And this is another hate crime that happened in June. And this is the Pulse shooting of Orlando, Florida in 2016. Information for this is, I took it from a tiny bit from Wikipedia, but also most of it is from Britannica. So on the early morning of June 12th, 2016, Orlando was changed forever. A popular LGBTQ nightclub, Pulse, had been the location of the United States' deadliest mass shooting at the time. There were 49 individuals killed with over 50 injured. This was later surpassed by the Vegas Strip shooting in 2017, where there were 60 killed and 411 wounded. But June 12th, 2016 was a Sunday. And I remember waking up to my phone buzzing with text messages, social media alerts, television, like news outlet alerts. Do you remember
Friends
that?
marking themselves safe.
I think that was like it was right when Facebook just kind of started doing that, right? It was where you could mark yourself safe. And it really hit home because there were so many people that I knew that it's coming across as marking themselves safe.
Yeah.
So Saturday, June 11th, Pulse hosted what they called Latin Night. This was a theme that was quite popular and was known to be inclusive over an array of diversity. Just after 2 a.m., there was believed to be over 300 people in the club. Fortunately, Adam Gruler, who was an off-duty Orlando Police Department officer, was working security there when Omar Mateen walked in and opened fire at the entrance. Gruler returned fire. However, he had to retreat because he was outgunned. He called for backup, which arrived in just minutes. Many of the patrons were able to escape and were met nearly immediately by emergency personnel who were able to triage, treat, and transport the wounded. Within about 10 minutes of when the shooting began, SWAT entered the building through a busted window. At this time, there was believed to be dozens dead, wounded, or trapped inside the club. A lot of what happened in the club was relayed at current time as those trapped called for help, and those who had escaped took to recount their experiences on various social media outlets. Mateen called 911 at 2:35 a.m. and pledged his allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi of the Islamic State. Around this time, law enforcement had Mateen in the bathroom. Mateen spoke to negotiators 3 times and spent a total of 28 minutes on the phone over the course of the next hour. During those calls, he said he had a car bomb in the parking lot and that he was wearing an explosive vest. Mateen also texted his wife and searched the internet for news of his attack while he was stuck in the bathroom.
Gross.
Right. At 4:21 a.m., police were able to evacuate some by removing an air conditioning unit from a dressing room. Some of those who were able to escape told police Mateen was planning on placing 4 explosive vests on hostages within the next 15 minutes. With this news, SWAT and the hazardous devices teams prepped to breach the building with explosives. At 5:02 a.m., the first explosive was detonated. The police then smashed into the club with an armored vehicle. A gunfight between officers and Mateen ensued, with Mateen's ultimate death. And I don't want to get too much into Mateen, but I do want to give a little bit of his background. He was a 29-year-old New York native born to Afghan parents. He was named a person of interest by the FBI in 2013 when he told coworkers he had ties to Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. After 10 months of investigation, no charges were presented. He was questioned again in 2014 when an associate of his became a suicide bomber. He also told a friend he was watching Al-Qaeda videos. That investigation also was eventually closed. Mateen held a legal firearm license since 2007.
Wow.
And
after being an FBI person of interest, you can still have it?
Well, I think it was temporarily held while he was actively being investigated, but I think it was like the hold was released or it was reinstated when those cases were closed.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of feel like if you get questioned twice by the FBI, maybe you should just not be able to have one.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are pretty big red flags. I mean, twice.
But he works. So when in 2013, those coworkers that he talked to, he was working as security. So he had the license through that company. Anyway, Robert Abel, Abell, he's a co-owner of Lotus Gunworks in Jensen Beach, Florida, had told ABC News that there was a man that had entered his store about 5 or 6 weeks prior to this shooting. and asked specific questions about high-end body armor. And the employees of the store said they didn't carry the body armor he wanted. The man made a phone call in a foreign language, and then he hung up. And then he asked about buying ammunition in bulk. And so everybody in the store felt that he was very suspicious. So they contacted the local FBI office in West Palm Beach, and they reported the incident. Unfortunately, they didn't have the man's name. They refused any sales to him. And the only surveillance footage they had was grainy. So they couldn't really follow up on that. On June 14th, 2016, Mateen was, however, able to purchase a Sig Sauer. Do you know how to say that? Sig Sauer MCX semi-automatic assault rifle. And he was also able to buy a Glock the next day after he bought the Sig Sauer. Both of those were used in the shooting. Numerous people believed they recognized Mateen from various gay dating websites, but investigators were not able to corroborate that with evidence from his devices, his cell phone, his laptop, his desktop. There was also no evidence linking him to any of the terrorist groups he had previously claimed allegiance and solidarity with. So it appears Omar Mateen acted alone in this heinous act. The country and the world, however, had a period of unity following the Pulse shooting. Tens of thousands held vigils across the world. And there was actually another vigil that was held in Orlando on the 6-year anniversary, just a week ago. Landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and One World Trade Center were illuminated in rainbow colors in memory of Stanley Almodovar III, who's 23 years old, Amanda Alvear, who is 25 years old, Oscar Montero, 26 years old, Rodolfo Ayala, 33 years old, Antonio Brown, 29 years old, Daryl Burt II, 29 years old, Angel Candelario Padro, 28 years old, Juan Chavez Martinez, 25 years old, Louis Daniel Conde, 39 years old, Corey James Connell, 21 years old, Tevin Eugene Crosby, 25 years old, Dianca Deidre Drayton, 32 years old, Simone Adrian Carrillo Fernandez, 31 years old, Leroy Valentin Fernandez, 25 years old, Mercedes Marisol Flores, 26 years old, Peter Ami Gonzalez Cruz, 22 years old, Juan Ramon Guerrero, 22 years old, Paul Terrell Henry, 41 years old, Frank Hernandez, 27 years old, Miguel Angel Honorato, 30 years old, Javier Jorge Reyes, 40 years old, Jason Benjamin Josephet, 19 years old, Eddie Justice, 30 years old, Anthony Luis Laureano Disla, 25 years old, Christopher Andrew Lennon, 32 years old, Alejandro Barrios Martinez, 21 years old, Brenda Marquez McCool, 49 years old, Gilberto Silva Menendez, 25 years old, Kimberly Jean Morris, 37 years old, Akira Monet Murray, 18 years old, Luis Omar Ocasio Capo, 20 years old, Geraldo Ortiz Jimenez, 25 years old, Eric Ivan Ortiz Rivera, 36 years old, Joel Rayon Paniagua, 32 years old, Jean Carlos Menendez Perez, 35 years old, Enrique Rios Jr., 25 years old, Jean Carlos Nieves Rodriguez, 27 years old, Javier Emmanuel Serrano Rosado, 35 years old, Christopher Joseph Sanfeliz, 24 years old, Elmarie Rodriguez Sullivan, 24 years old, Edward Sotomayor, 34 years old, Shane Evan Tomlinson, 32 years old, Martin Benitez Torres, 33 years old, Jonathan Camoy Vega, 24 years old. Juan Pablo Rivera Velasquez, 37 years old. Luis Sergio Vielma, 22 years old. Frankie Jimmy De Jesus Velasquez, 50 years old. Luis of Danielle Wilson Leon, 37 years old. Gerald Arthur Wright, 31 years old.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a horrible day.
It was
Horrible day in
awful.
Orlando.
And also, I remember that the police officers, emergency personnel, it was ORMC at the time. I think it's Orlando Regional, maybe. No, Orlando. I'm not sure what it's called now. Orlando Health. Mm-hmm. That hospital, I think everyone did a phenomenal job with response and treating and getting in there. And there was so much unity that happened in Orlando at the time.
I remember there was a phone number you could call to be a crisis counselor for a hotline that they created. And I called to join to be a crisis counselor for anyone that called in. And they actually turned me away. They said that they had so many that they didn't need anyone, but they'd keep my phone number in case they needed more people. That's crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to remember the struggles. And I know some people don't appreciate bringing attention to Pride Month or to the LGBTQI plus lifestyle. But I love about that community is one of their hashtags or one of their mantras is love is love. It's beautiful. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people loving other people. That's what's right. Anyway, like you mentioned earlier, that Juneteenth was Sunday. And we do recognize, and we did not forget, but we had probably the majority of our episode time was on Black History Month. We had 3 episodes that we released all back to back to back. And those are episodes number 7, 8, and 9. Episodes 7 and 8 are the timeline of Black history throughout the history of the United States.
Yeah.
And episode 9 again is Rudy's situation, where he persevered despite blatant racism that he experienced when he was in college.
And just briefly, Juneteenth is celebrated because in Galveston, Texas, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, General Order Number 3 was issued that all men of any color are equal, even though, yeah. So
1865.
Oh, were you going to cover that?
No.
Look at me. Oh, okay.
But look at you, what?
Coming off the top of my head with that information.
Nothing's off the top of my head. Everything's written down.
I remember reading it because when Biden made it a holiday last year, I was like, I don't know 100% what this is about. So I educated myself. There are people struggling out there that you don't even know, and you can't even comprehend or try to understand unless you know their history and where they've come from and what they're still going through as of 2020. Be nice. Be nice.
Just be nice, for God's sake. Look past differences. If we were all the same, this would be a freaking boring world to live in. Mm-hmm. We all need to be different. Different is beautiful. Different makes you feel normal. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel normal. I won't speak for any of you. Just stop it and just be nice and just accept people.
I have a shirt that I absolutely love. It says equal rights for others does not mean less rights for you. And I think that's a big fear that people have, is that by giving equal rights to others, they're taking something away from them.
That is so perfect, because honestly, what does it do for you to have any diversity of any kind around you? What does that do? What does it take away from you?
Right. Let's get
If
off
you
our
don't-
soapboxes though.
No, this is our podcast. The podcast is built on our soapbox.
That's true. But I mean, I don't know how many times we can say it. Like, their lives are not affecting you unless you let them affect you negatively.
And I know religion plays a part in this, but you know, God is love. Jesus is love. And if you're concerned about people's lifestyles going against what God thinks, let God deal with it, because he's bigger than any of us are anyway. So let that be his issue and let him handle it if you feel that needs to be something that's handled. But what I believe is God doesn't make mistakes. And God made each and every single one of us and one of you the way you are on purpose. And there's a reason for it. Embrace it, and love everybody else because of the way they were made too.
Yeah. Well said, sis.
Okay. And now I'll get off my soapbox. I haven't done Do This With Me in like a long time, which is, I don't want to do a separate episode. That's too much work.
It is. I agree.
But and I'm going to go totally off of exercising or whatever. I'm going to sing karaoke when we're done with this by myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Take a video and send it to me. That'll be my self-care. Come on. Dedicate a song to me and send it.
I need to start doing shots then or something. My God.
I will be going to bed and getting some sleep. So hopefully my immune system can, finally stop kicking my butt.
Your immune system needs to work out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. I said that wrong. So I'm going to go to sleep so my immune system can get some strength.
Yeah. It needs to work out.
Yeah.
All right. So Do This With Me. Your assignment, everybody, is within the next month, you need to sing karaoke somewhere.
Or do something that makes you happy. Oh, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Oh, yes. And happy birthday to our dad.
Happy birthday, Dad.
And happy birthday to he's going to be 8. My 8-year-old boy.
Sweet boy.
Sweet, sweet boy.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Cool. Thank you guys for listening. Oh, what's our what do we say when we end? Hey.
Oh, I don't remember. Be happy, hopeful.
Be you. You know what? Be you.
Unless you sucks.
Let's just end with that.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.